What a way to recover for the Los Angeles Rams. Seriously, that was a okay game. I'm not going to say it was a good game. I'm not going to say it was a great game. But what I will say is that the Rams did exactly what I thought they were going to do, and they recovered. That's what Ram Nation as a whole needed from our LA Rams. We needed them to bounce back. And what do? They bounce back. In arguably one of the toughest settings in the NFL, a primetime game in Seattle, Washington at Lumen Field. And God, I hate that name, Lumen Field. I gotta say, as Seahawks fans, I loved CenturyLink, okay? And I guarantee you, a lot of you guys do too. Probably prefer CenturyLink over Lumen Field. Just doesn't have the same ring to it. I'm still gonna call it CenturyLink because I don't like Lumen. So, a primetime game at CenturyLink. How about that? One of the loudest settings in the NFL, and Matthew Stafford overcame it. The Rams overcame it. Let's go ahead and kind of get into it. The Los Angeles Rams took on the Seattle Seahawks at CenturyLink Field on Thursday Night Football, starting at 5:20 p.m. PST. The final score between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks resulted in a Rams victory by the final score of 26-17. Let's go ahead and look at some Seahawks stats first. Russell Wilson went 11 for 16 with 152 yards through the air. He threw one interception and a touchdown. And the Seahawks backup actually got in for the game due to a dislocated middle finger on Russell Wilson's throwing hand, courtesy of Aaron Donald. So Geno Smith got in. He went 10 for 17 with 131 yards through the air. He threw one interception and a touchdown. And the Seahawks had a grand total of 92 rushing yards. And the Seahawks were 1 for 2 on field goals with a long of 32 yards. Now looking at some Rams stats. Matthew Stafford had a much better day than he had against the Cardinals. It could have been a lot better than what it turned out to me, but overall, I like what I saw from the second half. Matthew Stafford went 25 for 37, 365 yards through the air. That's his season high so far. He threw one interception, which honestly should have been no interceptions if you guys remember the interception play, which was just flat out embarrassing. And he threw one touchdown. And the Rams' running game actually was very decent with 118 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 2 field goals with a long of 47. Before I get into the breakdown, we're going to look at the injury update. Rams linebacker Justin Hollins is still out with his pec injury. Darius Williams left the game early with a mild ankle sprain. He currently does not have a time frame on when he will and will not be able to return to play. And Russell Wilson did go out of the game towards the end with a dislocated middle finger on his throwing hand. And Matthew Stafford did also have a dislocated finger. It was his right index finger on his throwing hand. And if you guys watched the interview, which I gotta say was just amazing, he literally said that he had no clue it was dislocated. He looked at his finger, saw it was a little bit to the left, popped it back in place, and went right back out to play. Seriously, Matthew Stafford's just built different when it comes to these injuries. It is great to see that from Matthew Stafford. So definitely, let's go ahead and kind of talk about the breakdown of the game now. So first things first, I want to talk about the Rams. They still are struggling on defense. And I'm fully aware of the fact that this isn't the same defense that they had last year. It is a much different defense and a different coordinator. They lost a few players. So I knew they weren't going to be to the same caliber as they were last year. But at the same time, I didn't think they would dip as far down as they have this year. I gotta say it. Taylor Rapp just doesn't look good, okay? He has blown a lot of coverages, and the secondary hasn't been playing too good. I mean, they played okay in this game. 2 takeaways. Handing Russell Wilson his first interception of the year, which is great. And obviously, the clutch interception at the end by Scott to essentially wrap the game. So they need to fix the secondary. The front, I mean, no real complaints there. There wasn't many times that the run got out of hand. So, decent job by the front. I love the involvement of Aaron Donald. My God, he looked great in that game. A couple tackles for a loss. He got a sack, and obviously he's responsible for the dislocated middle finger of Russell Wilson. Well, of course, all the best to Russell Wilson. I hope he heals up. I hope he gets back in. I have a lot of respect for Russell Wilson, especially what he does. And he's just overall a great guy, especially what he does for the community and all that. So I feel bad that, I got to say it, dude. Aaron Donald has just got to be such a terrifying person to think about playing against. He has been responsible for so many quarterback injuries. He's been responsible for 2 Carson Wentz injuries. And he was now responsible for a Russell Wilson injury. Seriously, he's a beast. If you're a quarterback, be terrified of him. So, overall defense, they played okay in this game. They could have played better, but I'll take okay because the Rams came out with the win. The only other thing that was noticeable outside the refs, and I'll talk about them in a second, but Stafford, in the first half, he didn't look good again. Obviously, his accuracy was all over the place. He threw an absolute disgusting interception. He literally was trying to throw it out of play, but he threw it directly in the hands of his former teammates Diggs, and one of the easiest interceptions you're ever going to get. That was just terrible, and I'm going to say this very clearly. If the Rams scored that touchdown instead of throwing that interception, I think that would have changed the tide of the game completely, and that probably would have just sealed it right then and there. But in the second half, he looked great. And, dislocated finger and all, he was able to do that. Go out there and win the game. So big props to Matthew Stafford for fighting this out. And guess what? Now you got a week and a half to just relax. Then you're going to New York. The Rams should win that. I'm not going to do this because I already got I'm going to be making a preview video in a couple days here, so I'm not going to talk about that game. But overall, the Rams looked okay. I'm not going to say good because if they looked good, they would have looked like what they played like in the first 3 weeks. So, but yeah, the Rams look better. Certainly coming off the big loss 4 days ago against the Cardinals and entering a much more hostile area. Primetime game against the Seahawks. They went in there and they went to work. So, good job, Rams. Keep that up. Now we're 4-1. Just need we need the Cardinals to lose to the 49ers. So, 49ers, please help us out. When it comes to the Seahawks, they honestly played a good game. And I gotta say it, big props to Geno Smith. 9-year veteran coming in for the first time in 3 years. And I gotta say it, he lit up the Rams secondary. And I'm not afraid to admit that if he didn't throw that pick, he probably would have won the game for the Seahawks. Seriously. He looked good. So I'm just saying, Seahawks fans, when Russell Wilson goes in the next couple years, Geno Smith might be your guy. He looked good. Seriously. He looked good. Russell Wilson, obviously doing Russell Wilson things. He looked great. He was running the ball over the Rams. He was making plays. Obviously, I am aware of the fact that there were, obviously a couple key injuries. They kind of lowered the Seahawks' capability in this game a little bit. Obviously with the big injury with Chris Carson and the tight end, former Ram Gerald Everett, who was still on the COVID list because he wasn't able to get a negative test in time. So I know obviously there were some disabilities when it came to the Seahawks entering this game, but at the same time we can't act like the Rams didn't have any disabilities because, we got to remember, our starting running back, Cam Akers, is out for the year. So that really hurt us. And now one of our star cornerbacks, Darius Williams, who had a great year last year, is currently out with an ankle sprain. And also one of our linebackers is out, and so on and so forth. Henderson looked good, dude. I'm not even gonna. Both of the running backs, Henderson and Michelle, they both looked great yesterday. The Rams' running game starting to come alive, just a little. So, it's good to know they can be reliable. And man, Robert Woods, have a day. I know that he complained about his role last week, and Sean McVay was like, all right, we'll get you more involved. And you better damn believe it, they did. Over 100 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but man, he just looked good out there. He really did. Thank you, Robert Woods. Thank you, McVay. Seahawks. Obviously, their defense is... Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Their defense sucks. Worst ranked defense in the league. And that really showed true when it came to holding down the Rams. So let's go ahead and now talk about the refs. My God, they are terrible. How many times are they going to miss these key calls? If you guys watched the game, did you guys see that double punt that happened? The Rams blocked the punt, and the guy picked it up, went past the line of scrimmage, and punted it again? That's a flag. That's a 10-yard penalty. You pushed the play back. And they called it off. They said, no. There's no foul. How is there not a foul? How is there not a penalty? He very clearly, got blocked, picked up the ball, ran past the line of scrimmage, and kicked the ball again. That's a penalty. And we'll also ignore the countless times that they missed holdings. I was counting them. They missed 5 holdings that game against the Seahawks. They missed a few against the Rams as well. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but they're missing a lot of calls. And come on, that pass interference on Metcalf, maybe a little bit, but that was weak. The pass interference on Tyler Lockett, that was clear as day. If anything, that was a genius play by the rookie to save a touchdown, even though they end up getting a touchdown. But overall, refs, once again, bad. That roughing the passer call, I looked at it afterwards. I gotta say it, Aaron Donald didn't hit Russell Wilson's head. Hit his shoulder. He didn't make contact with Russell Wilson's head. He hit his shoulder. He did not hit his head. Go ahead. Watch the play for yourself. He did not touch his head. The deep pass down the right side to Deshaun Jackson, it was like a 3rd down or something, and he just balled it out to him. It wasn't the one where it was like a 68-yard reception. It was the one that he missed. That was an incomplete, literally off the hands of Deshaun Jackson. And they didn't call pass interference on it. Even though you can very clearly see that the corner is literally pulling on Deshaun Jackson's left arm. They make that call. Rams were in the red zone. But nope, didn't make it. 4th down, they punted. So definitely, once again, the refs not doing their job. So, I mean, if the refs even make half of these calls they've been missing, a lot of these Rams games, seriously, like the tides of these games completely change. Refs, pick up your shit. You guys have been terrible all across the board. That's going to do it for me, though. Really appreciate you guys hanging around. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter @BuiltForLA. And I will see you guys in a couple days. Your house, our house, Rams house. See you guys later.